Okay, daily trading recap for this Tuesday, the 30th of November, 2021, last trading day of November. Monthly recap, I forgot I got to do that. I've not gotten much written down for this month because I just think I had a lot of other stuff going on. That's not an excuse in any way, shape, or form, but I'll certainly have to get on that and open up even more about this paper trading experience that I've stepped into a lot harder, which I can't speak enough of on where I'm as of right now. Like today for trading on me, I wrote in my journal here of I'm in these trades and I'm just watching charts and I'm dancing and singing and just like being so incredibly loose and free with everything that I'm doing. Whereas the past few weeks, past few trading months, when I'm in these types of trades or when I'm using my one-day trade, when I'm using the cash account for my kind of one trader on the day, I would be pretty like tight butthole-ish, and I would be aware of that and trying to tell myself, okay, I need to be breathing, I need to control my emotions and the mental state I'm in. But I was nowhere near the freedom space in my head and the awareness that I was today because, you know, mentally maybe I look at it as a little bit of, okay, it's just not real. But in the same thing, nothing is real. It's paper, money, whichever way you look at it. And I just think this paper trading aspect for me has certainly opened me up to a lot more of what I should be looking at as a trader and just how I should be going about my work ethic and process here as a trader as well too. And so I was looking at like 6 tickers at once today, which I would, again, I don't want to keep referencing the past few weeks or how I was trading initially, but since taking this step too, it's the same thing of, yeah, I was taking in a lot of information and maybe I was letting a few small things slip through the cracks, trying to watch so many different charts and so many different tickers. But in that same light too, it was also engaging me more, looking at each and every single one and understanding, getting a quick synopsis of it in the moment and then moving on to the next one and having that mental acuity and being able to move back and forth on all of them and then being able to dissect each one of them quicker, forcing me in that position. It's just so many awesome trading experiences and experiments to be a part of that, you know, these past few weeks I would not have put myself into or been a part of whatsoever. So still great steps being taken up. I think, yeah, this month will be a pretty hard month in the red on the P&L that I was doing for real trading at the start of the month. But we are opening up some layers to this onion here in this paper trading aspect that we will hope to greatly apply just very nicely and neatly apply to real trading if and when we're able to get to account above PDT to be able to move in and out like we're doing with these paper trades. Other housekeeping before we get going on tickers. SPY, a little bit of a down day. Again, I just love it so much that the news always has to come out with a reason of why the market's down 1%, 2% today of, oh my gosh, there's so many coronavirus concerns and Joe Biden and the travel ban and it's the end of the world and the VIX is rising and so much volume today too. But it's like if this was the same percentage to the upside, nobody would bat an eye. It's just normal business as usual, right? So we'll see if this little trend reversal, after we hit that all-time high and started pulling back a little bit more, this does become a little bit more of a harder pullback. Maybe we come back all the way close down to this 430-ish range. Maybe it finds somewhere around this little peak area that's around that 450 mark. Will be interesting to see and watch that on a technical basis or swing basis to see what it wants to do or how it reacts around here. I wanted to mention as well that, again, today, similar to yesterday, just not a lot of chatter, not a lot of the red names, the millionaire names in the chat, talking up the afternoon session. Just not a lot happening with that. So maybe that's just kind of a coincidence that all of them are taking off or buzzing off for the afternoon. But I didn't find anything hard that I was so totally in love with today to play for the afternoon compared to yesterday, which had a few decent plays like QLGN. But again, I think there's always opportunity. It's just about, does it fit my trading style? Does it fit what I want to do and be as a trader? And is it tradable to the retail trader in that sense? Market internals for dollar volume. Let's cover that just for reference. I always love to do for myself. As of 24 minutes after the close here, NASDAQ $306 billion volume. NYSE $416 billion volume. Pretty high dollar volume for that. And OTC's $3.2 billion volume. Good to see elevated levels in those all around. And let's get into it. BFRI, I'll mention the first one. I did not do my due diligence yesterday. I did not realize that they had earnings coming out before the open today. If I did know that, I would not have held the short position overnight. But even at that too, it was worse. Earnings were worse than estimated. They lost like $2 a share versus the 50 cents a share they were expected to lose. So it did offer pretty much the same opportunity. I did cover, once I realized it, trying to relate it to if I was actually trading this short, not paper short, I would have immediately covered in the pre-market once I figured that out. But of course, through TradingView, I have to cover at market open for the market hours. Can't place orders extended hours that way. So a little bit tilted of price views from that point, but still the same thing of, man, it still respected where I was getting shorts to a T. I think 7.4 was my average on that short. And I kind of would have, should have been getting more short. I wanted to scale in a little bit more, get a bigger size off of this afternoon fade from yesterday, still playing it on the daily. If it didn't have the earnings coming into today, looking for that red day continuation. But even at that, even through those earnings, even through that little hiccup on my part, still offered close to 30%, right around the same thing that LGVN offered today too, the same thing through that. So great to see. And I'll mention with LGVN too as we get into that one near the end of the recap. But these are certainly ones that I would have not taken any part of whatsoever. Mentally, I could have maybe told myself, okay, well, it's kind of looking weak here or peaky, even after the crazy private placement or offering that I did right before the open yesterday's trading day. Even through those, they still kind of follow the same parabolic penny stock framework trends of we're getting overextended here. Now backside's kind of being put in. So we'll see if it wants to continue on tomorrow, but then the same thing too, making full circles. These are the types of trades that I would never be a part of, trying to short the backside, hold overnight, whereas I would still just be focusing on my one trade on the day, looking for whether it's a short trade pre-market or long trade, dip and ripper style of trade, that all of my chips were in one basket. I was so limited to the emotional state that I had to kind of subconsciously pour into that one because, man, if it didn't work out, then I had another sucky day, another red day, and it was just going to be terrible. And, I could say, oh, I'm learning from the loss too, but it's just like, man, how many more of these red days am I going to take? Versus now when I've just totally opened myself up and realized, man, the PDT and the cash account subconscious overlord that was limiting me on taking trades and feeling like each trade I took had to be a winner and just forcing me like, well, I don't want to waste a day trade, so I'm going to use a bigger position size of my account, because if I don't use a big one, it's going to be kind of a waste in that too, that I didn't use a large, if it turns out to be a winner, that I didn't use my full account size for that trade. So many different variables with that too, but the veil has been taken away with that one. The eyes have been shown the truth, and just being experimental with all of these and being tied to absolutely nothing and so free to be a rubber band and stretch in and out of all of these and develop truly what I want to see as a trading plan on all of these. So great experience on that once again for this one. I think that's all I wanted to mention with that. Let's get into CPIX. Mentioned this one yesterday to watch as a short, and I think I even kind of mentioned as well too. I could so totally see this one being put in the top here for the crazy or after hours news it had yesterday of the FDA approval for preoperative administration. Low floater. I could have seen the top being put in that after hours, and then it just kind of slowly grinding, fading away into market open, and then that continuing the same trend for market hours. But I think it was just too little of a float, and maybe it was too much. This is a biotech, right, of what it is, a healthcare company, American in that light. So I think it was just a little bit too low of a float, a little too much manipulation going on behind the scenes, and not so much of a death and dying, bleeding daily chart. That did lead to a crazy amount of opportunity, and more of I look at these charts now, and as I was reflecting on it, these charts kind of become a range bound day rather than a trend day, market hours wise. That's all compared to like an FWBI or an ERYP or even like IMGN today, a little bit, that it's not so much that it has any way either green or red on the day, that there's plenty of opportunity absolutely both ways to make money in the range that is trading. Call it like a $4 to $5-ish, 5.5-ish range here. But it's just like, I want to be a part of the plays that it's like, okay, this was the sentiment for the stock on this day, that it was meant to go down from this time frame to this time frame. Now you can fine tune and say, okay, this was how you identify where the peak on the day is, and that's an entry point to get short, or the flip side, if it's okay, the sentiment for this chart today is it was going to go green. What were the signs and indications of what point to get in that trade was confirmed? That look for possible entries on there. So I think that's what I've always been looking for is, okay, how do I find those ones that time and time again these charts produce the same type of trend on the day, and then continuing to look at those over and over again, and then see, okay, now we can fine tune to say where are the best entry and exit points for these ones, what are they offering, what are they giving, because now we're already in the correct. We've got the trend as our friend helping us along the way, and even if we're off by a little bit, we still got the opportunity to say the overall sentiment for this one is death. So being short really at any point is good. You're going to find some amount of profit at some point. So I think that's what I was always clinging to and trying to go towards, where this is one today, looking back on it, it's like, okay, it's what characteristics of this one defined it for it to trade this way today, that it was not, it was, you call it a short game, getting short after this little perk here that wasn't really in a volume exhaustion candle perk at that one. And yeah, that's a nice backside short to that one, shorting it to under VWAP. But then the same thing of taking it long of, okay, well, yeah, I certainly tried to go long here at this point. That'll get into, but God, it certainly could have just totally dumped once again, the probability of this happening, of it going long and continuing from there. What do I think it's going to actually do that? So just so many ways and variables on these ones that they make me want to stay away a little bit from. And it's hard because there is opportunity there, 100%. And identifying the points like I did on a few of these little in and out ones to say, yeah, if I'm bored or if I've got nothing else to do, but if the opportunity and the dollar volume is there, and as the market overall is telling us constantly that these are kind of the charts that it's where it's going to end up going. It's just not a defined, it's not always going to be a defined full red day or like a just continual bleeding price day, or just a beautiful, nice, continuing green day the entire day. That's just not going to happen all the time. And you've got to find the value and the points of interest of where you want to exert that energy in finding the backsides of these moves or the front sides of these moves, scaling into them long, scaling into them short, and just getting in, getting out, of stepping away from them when they're not tradable whatsoever, but then also understanding at a moment's notice they could become and hit a certain technical level, hit any amount of volume perk, and start to go crazy then too. So that is the market sentiment overall with these ones, and continuing to learn and grow along with them as they're saying that. I'll get into the trades specifically on them. Still trying to just short any morning volatility or morning spike. So it started in, again, just super, super educational with paper trades on these ones of, okay, is this a top here? I think we got 3 minutes of nice green spikeage on some decent-ish volume. Is this a top here on this pullback? So I'm getting short at 4.3. Okay, we're perking a new high of day on decent-ish volume, cut. But then ends up pulling back right again. So a little bit of a fake out that was maybe getting out shorts like me. Okay, well, now we're testing down below 4.3 again, or right around that range. I think it's looking pretty weak. That could be, how many times have I done that I cover the top, and 1-2 minutes later, that's the actual downtrend turn for a nice little short trade that I was looking for picking that top on the trade. So able to stab back in again with 4.3. I think we're looking pretty weak and not a lot of volume coming in to continue this one. Still plenty of other opportunities with other tickers with lots of other dollar volume around the market for retail traders to get into that. Yes, the opportunities are there on this one, but yeah, besides the point of getting shorted, playing to the downside in this one could wreck a lot of longs day, and lots of technical levels that should we start to chew through them. We get to 4.2, we get to the psychological level of $4. We break the pre-market relative low here of that 3.8-ish level. Multiple layers, glass floors to break through. That would just become very, very nice as a short if we start to panic through, if we start to snowball effect through those more and more, the more and more panic selling we can get on those. That it's not even just doesn't have to be panic selling, but can just be continuing to bleed out those longs that way too. So continuing to play it from the short side with those two little in and outs of kind of picking tops on those trades, but then ultimately respecting and getting getting a lot more experience with these ones, even through these little experimental trades of, okay, very nice. Yeah, we tried to reclaim bounce off of VWAP, but failure there. Okay, now we're testing the relative lows here. Breaking to the downside of VWAP. Oh, shoot. Okay, we bought up very quickly. Now we're back at 4.3. Okay, huge amount of volumes coming in. You don't got to tell me anymore. You don't got to force my hand. Easy cover there, right at like 4.3-ish. I think I was able to get paper trading wise, however I filled that. But was able to save myself a little bit from a huge spike after that. And just interesting to see, even in that there was really no continuation. It was just kind of that exhaustive volume, and that would maybe be another example of, okay, I think this could be another top here, and trying to go in short there too, but stopping myself out, just say, okay, let's take a step back. We've been wrong twice. Let's look at this a little bit more. Is this really an actual volume top here, or at least a little bit more of a pullback that would be a potential small scalpy short trade? But just lots of indecision. This little sentiment here in these next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles, 7, 8, 9 candles. 7 candles of, they're very wicky, but just overall down still, but just indecision, and not really, you can tell it's like, okay, we want to continue. It's shown that the volume is there to push this thing to a new high of day, but then ultimately with all success, more success breeds the need for more volume. So it's just like, it's not there quite yet. So, okay, whatever. So now I'm kind of in the mindset of still looking at this long to say, okay, I don't really want to be short. I'm just kind of, stub my toe on this twice already going short. Is there another sign on this one that, hey, there still could be some more squeezage in it if there are stubborn shorts, or if there are more shorts trying to jump in on it as it's continually riding higher. So with that mindset of, oh, maybe it's becoming a potential long here. We're getting a little bit of a reversal, some higher low, or testing some higher highs here closer to that high of day range. And then just a slam to the downside of VWAP, and I'm going, okay, wow, that's the reason why these things are just so stupid, and why you kind of screw everybody over in the end. Yeah, another great experience to be a part of that maybe I wouldn't have been so involved in or just watching as hard had I not been paper trading it previously, or keeping my eye on it hard in other ways beforehand too, that the paper trading definitely allows, that keeps me more engaged on these ones. But we draw out a little bit more, and I find this little point here that it's pulling back to VWAP after I've kind of failed double top again. Not a double top, but just lower high. That's just like, oh, we bounced off of VWAP, and that huge bid was stepping in as it's under this VWAP range. I still consider this holding VWAP, even though technically it's not perfectly bouncing off of there. Technically holding 4.3 very well. A little low on this candle here, 4.32-ish. Holding very well on those two candles, and very nice bid to step in. So I was able to get a fill on I think I traded this through my cash account with like three shares on that one, which I wish I did on PTPI, but then we'll get into that a little bit. So got 3 shares, 439, very nice fill for there. Was not expecting the move to happen immediately after that point, but was preparing for, obvious risk level was this low here. If it started to break there, then I knew the probability was not there. The trade was definitely over. And even as it started perking immediately from there, we get this little kind of double top with this little range just under 4.6. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I totally prepared for this. I knew mentally going in, the move didn't have to happen immediately after my entry, but of course I would love it if it did. So we get a little bit of a wedge here, a little bit of consolidation as it actually perks above 4.6. I sell a little bit into that thinking, okay, this could be exhaustive. This could be just a kind of playing around with the emotions of the shorts and just getting them a little bit on edge. Maybe there is no meat to this move here. We do perk to that 4.75 mark, starts to just play around again. So I just take off a second share, simulating what I would be doing with a larger position size, taking off a third, taking off, okay, really, the probability at me for this point, I think there's still a chance, but I'm not willing to keep a full position size at this point. I'm going to take the money when it's there, not when I have to. This is still like a 5% trader still at this point of where it's sitting at the moment. We do get a little bit of consolidation just under this high of day. Perk to new high of day, 4.8, it slaps. Huge rejection from there. So again, a great example, a great experience to be a part of through the paper trading that, again, just very lucky to be in these and continuing to take these stabs over and over again to have those, get the reps in, go through those motions of what these actually feel like, what they look like, and identifying the signs both ways with that. So, but the same thing too, now that it still holds and respects that previous risk level that I was setting, just continues to build, ends up going just under 5.5 there. An awesome little long trade at that. So more trade on the table than I left. More trade, more than I took, which is a very good problem to have. I've not had that problem in a extremely long time. I did that with another few on, I think that was QLGN and a few other tickers on the same thing. So I think it's a good problem to have going forward, to identify that for the meantime of just what I'm identifying and looking for is working. Now we're stepping into the correct trades. Now we can just continue to fine tune, refine the process about which we go in collecting the monies from those trades. That's all I wanted with CPIX. Get into PTPI now. This one I think I mentioned yesterday of maybe potentially playing around short with this one. Shoot, I wish I got short in pre-markets. They come out with the offering of 10 million bucks, but learning from, so I knew a lot of people were going to take it off their watches, and I was kind of doing the same thing after that offering came out, just dumping it, not a lot of immediate reversal after that, which you wouldn't expect. But learning from the BFRIs and the ISPCs, even after they drop that offering, they can still come back. This one, BFRI, wasn't immediate, and ISPC wasn't the same, was the same thing. It wasn't immediately after that. But on this day today, they drop, or was that, yeah, like after the closer, right at that pre-market open, drop that offering, and it kind of looks bleak, and it's like, oh, we're dying, death. But then they just slowly by slowly continue to start pressing, and then you get nice halting explosions after that, that squeeze out those shorts. That is pretty much the market sentiment on these little offering plays, that even through the offerings, it doesn't mean immediate, very easy, nice sit as a short, just an immediate short signal. It's just, okay, drop the offering, let's let time play out, let everybody else step in front of that blaze of fire, and then see if there's any potential shorts from there to play this thing for a further drawdown for how elevated this thing still is on the daily as well, where it was sitting pretty crazy in that regard. But for me, I was just kind of keeping that same thing in mind with BFRI and ISPC. It could get pretty squeezy, and the time frame on this one was had a little bit more time compared to BFRI, which was like right before market open, I believe. I'm gonna double check on that one. Yeah, it was like a few minutes, 3 minutes before market open, which was a huge psychological blow. But a little bit more time to kind of deal with it, for more people to see it, to say, okay, well, it had the offering. It's not like it's not dead. It's not completely died off. And as it's actually perking into market open, coming back to that whole psychological dollar level of $3, volume coming in, stepping in, not dying it, not killing it. Bag holders not killing it within that first minute, still building. I'm able to get, this is the one I got 2 shares on. I wish I just got 3 shares just for the ability to scale out 3 times in this one. Continue to build, continue to keep growing. Obvious risk of day for me if I was able to get anywhere near it. If it started to pull back from there, it was going to be low of day. But I knew it probably would have taken some slippage for how fast it would have potentially been moving with more bag holders behind me, panicking out for how far down it was. It was gapping from the close of yesterday's trading day. But we got a nice continuation. Shorts squeezing this thing. Shorts being squeezed. Playing these things just totally safe. Taking for 308, I was able to get here, kind of taking off roughly around 10% for that first, what I would consider a third position size. And then as it gets into a halt here, 345, taking off another one. And I was like, shoot, I wish I had one left over to play for any gap up or continuation, which we did get. We got a little bit of a gap up, but then just nothing to continue it on behind it, which was unfortunate to see. That there was, maybe the attention was moved somewhere else, or everybody was just like, oh yeah, who cares, whatever. And it, especially after an offering too, tough to get people excited about it again, to throw crazy money in this one to keep it squeezing. But Certainly happened for ISPC, BFRI. Why couldn't it happen for this one today too? But that's the market. That's why we take profits as they're there, not when we have to. A great learning lesson and halt experience, squeeze experience to be a part of again, and another great way to kind of start off the market open with that one too. NXRP was one I was watching hard, no trade for me on it, but it just had a kind of these are types of full trend red days that I was mentioning a little bit earlier. But I was watching the daily on this one, and I'll go back to, looking back on the daily here, trying to find any amount of volume comparison or similar daily comparison, and easy-ish one to sort of relate to this one, July 27th-ish range here. Whereas we've got two pretty nice green days and then a red rest day. And then I'm looking at this is the 27th of July here, where it's a gap down, but very high top wick for buying pressure. And I'm guessing it was potentially in the morning. And as I pull that up, that chart, so kind of relating that to where we were at today, whereas we did get a nice little first green day and an even higher, bigger volume second day that ended up being a red day, is a little different because it was big pre-market day for that big green move that initially happened, and a little bit weirder of a gap up that happened market hours for that news catalyst. So then kind of relating it to where it was at on this 27th, similar thing of looking for big green day. Let's do 5 minutes here. Kind of big green day, a little bit of a sell-off red day, but still squeezing, still has some strength. Again, a sell-off, and this Monday start of the week, it was more of a red day, rest day. It has some amount of little volatility playing around that way. But then looking on this day, it finds a base right before market open and just has a beautiful green trend in the morning session, first hour of the market. So looking for anything similar along those lines. It's very, very loose correlation. I think it was, whatever stupid news catalyst it had for that run out, that multi-day hold. Kind of similar thing with this one, that it's very loose and not the exact same thing, but if it does have the characteristic, it's kind of see a little bit, hey, we're a little bit basing around here, putting in a higher low from 775 to 780 here. Maybe it does start to go green. Maybe some volume does start to come in and try and squish out some easy shorts, but just dumped right away from the open. So it was a very easy take off of the chart of the scanner for me on that one today. And just unfortunate to see, but yeah, that's trading. And it was a great example for me to not just get so greedy or try to force anything that isn't there, to understand, whoa, okay, that was way different than what I was thinking potentially could happen. I learned from it, and we go on to the next one. ISPC we'll get into. Choppy broccoli on this boy, just as always, as expected. What else do we expect from this one? Just looking for any amount of craziness still alongside still, if it's just still so ready for the backside to be put in for a longer continuation. I was very tempted still to, like I mentioned yesterday, to lump it in with the LGVN and BFRI overnight shorts, but I just had too much respect for this one to squeeze crazy in after hours for how many times it's done that. These days on here, was there one before? Yeah, these days. So I just said, I will take my hands out of that fire and put them somewhere else on this one. And a little bit of a gap up here that happened today too. So that was a good no call for me with that overnight thesis. And same thing through, it had a little bit more juice, and thought if it could just squeeze out just a little bit more, it could squeeze out a heck of a lot more of shorts who are just, I would be so eager to hop in on this thing. But the obvious trend was over at these easy little risk levels to see, as I was trying to get it long here, with thought volume was coming in at these high of day breaks, and kind of again the reverse side of this one for how many technical levels you could pick out of these kind of crazy and choppy daily charts here, these psychological whole dollar levels that come by so easy for how volatile and how quick this thing can speed up against you. But yeah, just no legs for it to keep running on it today, and cut when the signs were there that we are done running for the moment. Good experience on that one. We'll see if it actually does have a full red day continuation on it tomorrow, if it wants to sentiment fully in that, okay, now backside's being put in, or if it just wants to continue to go crazy. I think it's got to do one or the other at some point. FWBI, I'm going to mention along with ERYP. of these two biotechs, low floaters, just dumpers. Of watching both of these for, hey, can we get any amount of, similar to that CPIX, that, hey, can it get any amount of perk? It's tough because it's coming so close to VWAP here just before market open that if it could still just maintain this range closer to like 2.5 and then have a perk maybe to 2.7-ish range here, or like tap perfectly off of that VWAP point, and that acts as a point of inflection, starting to get into short anywhere around there and just play it for a nice little trend. But these ones and ERYP, FWBI and ERYP just dumping. Like market high is right, or market hours high is just right at that first minute candle of the day too, and it's just like, ah, crap. It's, do I start to chase it a little bit, because I know with certainty there's far more bleeding, far more little dribbling death out of these ones closer after the morning session, closer to the lunch or afternoon session. But it's just, yeah. We'll leave them for now. We'll just leave them, let them die. And if they continue to start repeating this pattern over and over again, that there's just no, if it shows no amount of strength whatsoever in these first 10 minutes of market open, then understanding, okay, it's not going to produce anything. As it's breaking low here, could probably identify this as a sign for that one today. Like, okay, this thing is, it's not only dead, it's dead. It's not even mostly dead. Like in, I'm going to butcher that movie now. Oh, I feel so stupid. Knight's, no, A Knight's Tale. No, that's, all right, we're going to go on to IMGN now. It's same biotech, type of sector ticker, but way higher of a float than that the FWBI and the ERYP. Same thing, they're just kind of dumping. Had a little bit of attempt here to reclaim above. This one, what I would relate to KTTA style of trade, that it's a failed morning dumper that we finally do after this pre-market perk. We get the failure to maintain the upside of VWAP. It comes back below, but finds a little bit of a base here. So easy entry to spot to see as it's pushing above with a volume to the upside once again of VWAP. So it has a little bit more legs and room, and kind of a tougher sit as it's pulling back, but still respecting VWAP there. It kind of double tops around the 7.4-ish point, and then that was really all the strength it had. And morning session a little short here in my eyes, viewing this one of, that's the same thing of, okay, do you wait 10 minutes and as it breaks this low here, still getting a little short and scalping a move off from there? Or even for this one today too, call it this a little double top, a little double VWAP reject, that it's not perfectly at VWAP, but in the range of 6.6-ish here, that, okay, it's topped twice, and even if you're still holding from this first failure to ride that thing any higher, it's still sitting nicely in the second point here that would confirm the trade and allow you to size in even more, and play it for a nice little move down, 6.6, taking it to the house at 6 as it breaks below there. Nice little trade for post-morning session into the afternoon session. I'm on that one, but carrying the same sentiment as the FWBIs. The FWBI, that's what I was calling it. I knew I called it something else. And the ERYPs for that. LGVN, last one I will get into. Man, great reminder to never get too greedy, especially holding longer term shorts. News catalysts coming out for the afternoon session here for phase 2 trial something, but not really having any much more legs or excitement after that spike into the halt and huge gap up after that halt. So holding that short overnight, like I mentioned, it was wishing, even paper trading, I think I only had 10 shares. I was wanting to size in a little bit more, kind of missed a great opportunity to scale in at this $30 range here. But I obviously should have been scaling in like I was a little bit more with that BFRI to, even though it was a fake trade in itself too, I should have been simulating what I've been doing with a larger position size on that one, like I would be potentially with these overnights, even though it's still really educational for me at this point. But great education for me to learn from, both knowledge-wise and profit-wise on these ones on paper side. Started to cover, or just keeping an eye on it, and again, not focusing so hard or trying to make more out of the level 2 time and sales than was actually there, and forcing my brain away from that by, just keeping it in the corner of the chart, but respecting price. And I think the better thing for me would be just keep the price up, like on a watch list or something else, and not the actual chart. That would probably be better for me in the future too. I might look into that a little bit more. But yeah, had a little bit of a dump out of the morning gate, dump after the morning bell, perks above VWAP, but just it doesn't have any legs above 27. It starts to peel off. I cover 5 shares. I think I cover 5 shares kind of stupidly. As I look back at it, I probably should have just been slowly scaling out 2 shares, 2 shares, 2 shares maybe. So I think I covered half in this little dump here. It starts to pull even more. I covered 3 shares here at this point. It's got even more, and I was waiting to hold these 2 remaining shares until like $15, until this thing just continued to drop off. And man, there is so much more opportunity on the downside on this one. I could certainly say the same thing as a long. Man, it's clear skies until $100, man. I think it could easily reach there. But yeah, shoulda, woulda, could have been covering more and more shares as it's finding a little bottom here for the afternoon session. I expecting, being ready for, okay, it's got to pull, you know, it reclaims to VWAP here, but then rejects, and it's just going to play those games in its LGVN. And but a great reminder, and even in this learning experience, that can never get too comfortable as a short in anything, especially if it's earnings like I'm missing with BFRI, or if a news catalyst randomly comes out, an unpredictable event like happened today too, can easily turn very sour against you in the blink of an eye. So this would have, if I had not been taking profits, had not been covering, would have just absolutely wiped out all of this awesome trade and been forcing a panic cover, which it really kind of did. That's all it amounted to, was just forcing an easy squeeze of a lot of shorts who would imagine be getting in this with the same thesis on this trade today. But great learning lesson. Take the money when it is there, not when you have to. This one probably is the best epitome of that sentiment from, why is his name not coming to me? Tom Sosnoff. But that is all I wanted to mention, all I had. Lots of winners out there, awesome paper trading again, and just, I'm loving it. Of what I'm doing with this trading and how it is forming me as a trader. And just, again, I'll mention, like in the introduction, I'm like dancing, and because I'm obviously in the money, and it's very nice to be that way. But even in the same thing that I would have been in with previous trades in the past too, with my actual cash account, with my actual margin accounts for shorting, I would have been certainly a heck of a lot tighter, watching level 2 and time sales a lot more. And not that's like a bad thing but I would have been trying to draw more or think that I'm seeing more than I'm not, because, oh, I'm in it now, I have to be focused on it more, versus today, which, man, I was singing like crazy, just totally loose. And okay, well, that's a loser. I picked the wrong top on that one. Cut it, move on to the next one. Okay, I think it's a little opportunity here developing the same type of thing. Let's try it again. Okay, didn't work on that one. Let's move on to the next one. Let's shift the perspective because we've been wrong twice. But just being able to adjust on the fly and totally releasing the ego and emotion from every aspect of it, I think that was a definite big part of my trading that I was missing for a long time, that has finally been open and awakened. So I'm excited to start slamming that harder with this one on the paper side. And I think I'll know the correct time when it's time to transition back to that real account. And I think it will be an easy transition for me to be able to apply that to, if I can maintain that understanding that money is fake. Money is just not real. I don't want to make it totally like it's a video game and just lose all respect completely for money. But in the same light too, they are just lights on a screen here. It is just red and green little flashes on a computer. It's fake. It's made up. I'm doing this for a living, for a job. Like, that's what I'm doing. It's still mind-boggling. So perspective in everything is what I got to continue to maintain with every aspect of my life, in trading and outside of trading as well too. And I think we're certainly building some very nice habits in a lot of those fields that way. So nothing pressing for me right now on the watch list that's just so overpowering, overblowing, but that is all I had. I sincerely thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.